I am a visionary.
Sis guy, he a visionary.
In this case, are you aware of any statements that were taken and then subsequently erased?
No.
That you do recall is that whoever the law enforcement officer, the detective on that day was that you spoke to, you gave him a statement, and then instead of keeping that statement, that law enforcement officer erased your statement that you gave initially, and then went ahead and recorded something else, right?
That's what I was told, my understanding of it, yes.
Okay. Is it proper Atlanta Police Department policy to erase the statement of a witness once it's given?
No.
Once a person gives a statement and it's recorded by you, an Atlanta Police Department detective, it is in fact evidence, isn't it?
That is correct.
And it is improper to destroy evidence by deleting or erasing it, correct?
Your Honor, compound.
I stand as form. You can rephrase it.
It is improper as a detective to delete evidence, correct?
That would be improper.
It is improper to erase evidence. Isn't that true?
That would be, yes, sir.
So that detective was lying. He deleted that goddamn first initial audio because he thought he was lying and it didn't make sense, which is actually against Atlanta's protocol. That's why the other officer knew that. Now, let's see how the referee comes into play.
The second full paragraph from the very end of the opinion where it says, judgment affirmed, all justices occur, go up 2 paragraphs from there, the second paragraph from there, and it starts with Amy Pitts asserted her marital privilege. Okay. Did not testify at trial, thus rendering her unavailable at trial. The trial court admitted, and this is what I'm referring to, Your Honor, the entire recording, and we find no error under the present circumstances, and this is what I stress. However, we do caution that in certain circumstances, a caller may shift from a non-testimonial statement into a testimonial one. When Amy Pitts explained to the operator that her husband had violated his parole and that he was, quote, wanted, end quote, she came close to providing testimonial evidence.
I would agree.
Because the crime was still ongoing, and I stress this, in her presence, immediate presence, however, the primary purpose remained the prevention of immediate harm to herself, and her statements regarding her husband's parole violation were made to illustrate the prior difficulties that made the current situation such a dangerous one.
All right, it says at the bottom, in future cases,
Yes.
trial courts must decide whether a caller's primary purpose is shifted in such a manner as to render portions of the caller testimonial in nature. So,
And should, so I didn't mean to interrupt that.
no, and should selectively redact portions of the recording in that case. So I got to decide if I decide that. But at this point, I don't see anything in this transcript which would indicate that it's shifted at this point.
Well, so what is the, first of all, we're not dealing with the Amy Pitts of the world. We're not dealing with the person under the stress of the, I'm not talking about hearsay, of the ongoing emergency. We're dealing with a third-party caller who does not see any of this.
No, but the third-party caller is right next to the person who has apparently some particular person that may or may not have been involved in this particular circumstance, but in their apartment.
No.
And wants the police to come to get them out of that apartment.
No, if they wanted the police to come,
Well, that's argument. That's for us to decide. No. If I decide that, well, then that jury will weight it accordingly.
but no.
Yes.
What happens is,
You may not like it, Mr. Steele, but that's the facts of where we are.
I'm just trying to explain. If the caller is removed, just for a minute, because the caller's not right next to the person in need. The caller doesn't see anything. The person in need, allegedly, that person's not even in the vicinity when the call is made. That person goes back to the supposed emergency.
I have no idea, baby. I promise I can tell you that I don't know. The only thing I know is she came running. She came to my house and told me the guy that shot someone named Young Thug or whoever supposed to be shot someone, and that guy is in her house. I don't know y'all can do that. I'm trying to get her out of the house, but she won't answer her phone right now.
The person who the caller is talking about already left the house. That means, if you take that as true, that the caller went back into the house.
But Mr. Steele, you got to look at the totality of the circumstances of this particular incident, which I've heard now 3 or 4 folks testify about, and it's not in a vacuum. It's got to be looked at in the totality. You got a car coming into a building, you got a crashing of a gate, you got a shooting, and you got 911 call.
Car coming in building is not mentioned.
But she doesn't know that. But
Exactly.
still, she doesn't know that. But she's at but it's got to put context. Remember, she's at the trail end of somebody that has fled. If the facts, in fact, that's what the court surmises. Now, whether the jury believes that is another thing. But from the facts, it is reasonable to conclude that somebody ran from that particular scene into those apartments and they were shot. That's what's reasonable under the circumstance.
Who was shot?
We don't know.
Exactly.
But that's for them to decide. That ain't for me to decide. That's a weight versus admissibility issue.
If we can cross-examine.
Oh, well, no, it's kind of like,
Yes.
ordinarily, yes, but this is one of those circumstances that I'm sorry. I'll make a ruling and we'll see what happens.
Well, I know what will happen if you make a ruling. I'm going to follow your ruling. But
I know that, but it bothers me that you won't be able to do that. But that doesn't make it not inadmissible.
this is an un-American trial to allow in a.
Why now? Why you want to make it un-American? We all follow the rules of evidence, Mr. Steele. Okay, some of them, work out fine. But remember. When you admit evidence, the overarching thing of our rules of evidence is the admissibility of evidence and the highest and best evidence for us to use. Now, depending upon where you fall on the continuum, sometimes that evidence may cut for you and may cut against you. I don't disagree that you don't have a right to confront, but and Crawford and his progeny, guide my direction and my analysis. So. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not saying that I don't disagree with you about anything about the fairness or otherwise, but remember, I'm the referee. So
I understand. I'm not questioning the Honorable Court.
No, I understand. But I want you to understand, I get it, but these are the facts I have. We may disagree, but
let me talk more about the facts, because I keep feeling like I'm not articulating and I'll just going to piggyback on what the Honorable Court just said. The overarching purpose of a trial is for the jurors to have the best and highest evidence. The overarching way that we get the best and highest evidence is through the crucible of cross-examination. That is not only statutory, but constitutional. And what we have here is you potentially will find an ongoing emergency. If you find that, and I'm not conceding, I'm going by what you said, how is it, and I'm answering your question, when you said, if I find that it's an ongoing emergency, am I done with the Confrontation Clause? And I said, Your Honor, no, because the part that you just read, that would have to be redacted. How does that go to an ongoing emergency? By naming Young Thug, how does that go to an ongoing emergency? The caller doesn't know Young Thug. The caller says, the way I listen to it, Young Thug may have been shot or shot someone, however the listener hears that. But she starts with, the question is, so who was shot? I have no idea, baby. I promise you, I can't tell you all that I don't know. The only thing I know is she came running. She came to my house and told me that the guy. Now, why is that?
Because you got a present sense impression, or you have or excited utterance of the person who she runs to the house, and then a woman who is conveying this is in a present sense impression as well. So now, whether or not she told her that or not, that's
important, because
I know it is, but that's for them to decide, because this particular circumstance, it's going to go to weight. It's whatever the jury wants to consider it as. It just is.
Then why don't we just let in all recordings?
Because I can't do that.
Without crossing that.
Because I can't do that.
You might be doing it here. Judge Lamb, the Honorable Judge Lambo, look at that. Somebody named Young Thug, or whoever that's supposed to be. That doesn't go to weight. That is testimonial. That does not go to the ongoing emergency. The ongoing emergency is
But that's not for the purposes of well, that's one of the things I got to decide. So
now, ultimately, parts of that audio with a 911 call was redacted. The judge doesn't like Brian Steele. It just has a weird, odd feeling that he ain't really feeling Brian Steele. And maybe Brian Steele does some slick stuff, because I can make a video like the 10 times where Brian Steele has messed up. I can absolutely do that. But then y'all would get on here and cry and complain and act like babies and go, oh my God, City Dash, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And hey, when I told y'all I think that they watching this channel, bruh, how come I started doing all that complaining about Brown and y'all ain't seen him in days? The last video I said, get him out of here. He's a bum. But he ain't been back since. Now, it could be that he wasn't equipped as far as education goes, or in this case that he shouldn't have been there. It could be. It could be he was ill-equipped and all that stuff. But, bruh, there was a time where there was only 2 attorneys there. So y'all can't say, hey, he had to be the co-counsel to the co-counsel for the prosecution. That don't fly, bruh. And I'm going to keep it authentic with y'all. Keith Adams. I keep pressing this button on Keith Adams. Y'all be trying to fight me on it and I don't get it. And it doesn't mean Brian still has to be kicked to the curb. It doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that Brian still ain't good. Doesn't mean that. If I say somebody is better for this particular job, just this one, it does not mean Keith Adams is a far superior attorney. None of that crap. I know what I'm talking about. Keith Adams should be leading this. That's why you see him up there a lot more than you seen Brian Steele. Because even Brian Steele has to say, hey, bro, you the one for this job, bro. And I'll bring it home or I'll do whatever and everything like that. I think you morons who are complaining about it like, they're a team. Well, if I'm a team and I say, you know what, bro, you're a better three-point shooter than I am, that's what that is. You're just a better three-point shooter than I am. It doesn't mean you're a better player. You dumbasses who got mad at that video didn't understand. I'm saying he was better at his job for this case. You just don't know. In Atlanta, Brian Steele is the guy. Really, it's not. Brian Steele is number 2. You know who's number 1? Drew Phelan is number 1. That's who they got. And then they trying to say it's between Steele and Michael Sadow. So before y'all say all this crap, because I live in Atlanta and I talk to cats and I talk to some people, some high-ranking individuals, bruh, they are telling me Brian Steele is either 2 or 3. So run, tell that. But either way it goes, bruh, I don't think that audio should come in because the cops can't even get their story. You had a audio come out and basically they was like, we're looking for a woman. We're looking for a woman. We're looking for a woman. And if you watch the last video with the biggest snitch revealed, you'll hear that the woman was actually Young Thug. All right. Now, there are officers that don't place him there. There are officers that place him there. And if I'm Brian Steele, of course I am trying to get rid of that. Because it does put Young Thug somewhere in the vicinity. But if I'm Brian Steele, what I would be trying to do is figure out a way to discredit that whole entire thing in the ears of the jury. Now, that's going to be beyond difficult because she said Young Thug. And the city knows Young Thug, a.k.a. Jeffrey Williams, is Young Thug, not Jeffrey Williams. So there's no way she would have said, hey, Jeffrey Williams. Let's just say if it was Young Jeezy. It wouldn't be said, no, I won't say Young Jeezy because Young Jeezy kind of fell off. Let's just say it was Gucci Mane. Right? She's not going to say, hey, Roderick Davis is in here. Not going to do that. She's going to say, Birds, Gucci. She might probably won't say the bird part, but y'all get what I'm saying, bro. We'll see what happens, bro. This week is going to be crazy because Buddy finna come back in, and then we'll see how it goes, and then next week they're going to take that week off, so we'll kind of get back to pumping out the content that y'all like. But for the content that y'all like, just go ahead over there to the City Nash Reloaded page, and then I'll catch y'all there. But y'all let me know y'all thoughts on this one, man. Share to keep your people aware, subscribe, turn on the bell to stay notified, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.
They used to say, words couldn't hurt me. Videos, just my name, they getting thirsty. Go ahead and put him in a hearse. It's getting murky, this time I deserve this. I'm ready for whatever war said he been a matador. Skin for the things I'm dreaming for.